we play a game called the what if game. And so what if a pandemic hits for 2 years and really shuts things down? That'd be great. I'd be Nostradamus if I made that prediction. But largely, I say, what if these things happen? What will you do? And it's a really scary idea, and it frightens a lot of people, and they hate to address those fears. And that, Gordon, is what keeps most business owners up at night, is the fear of the unknown. And so I said, no, let's walk through this exercise. What would you do?
The following is brought to you by Thryv, the end-to-end client experience platform that helps you get the job, manage the job, and get credit.
Hey, this is Gordon Henry at Winning on Main Street, and this week you get to meet Brian Moran. Brian runs Small Business Edge, helping small business owners and entrepreneurs run better businesses. He is also the host of the Small Business Edge podcast. Brian's firm assists entrepreneurs with everything from social media to accessing growth capital to expanding into the global marketplace. Welcome, Brian.
Gordon, thanks for having me on your show.
All right, so excited to have you. So let's just start with the basics. Why did you start your company, Small Business Edge, with Brian Moran, and how long has the company been around?
So the company started in 2012. It's actually my third company that I started. I spent 22 years publishing magazines and newspapers for business owners. I was at Inc., Entrepreneur, Wall Street Journal. I had my own publishing company, and we published, among other titles, the SBA's national magazine. So it's really been in almost like my DNA for the last 30 years. And there's few things I enjoy more than helping business owners plan their dream, work on their dream, and then watch them achieve their dream.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell us a little bit more about what you guys do at Small Business Edge. What is your mission? And what does a project or assignment look like?
Sure. Well, I actually have two companies now. There's Brian Moran and Associates, and then there's Small Business Edge. Brian Moran and Associates, we work with large companies, Fortune 100, Fortune 500, that target small business owners, and we help them do a better, more effective job in the targeting, whether it's writing content for them, doing webcasts, webinars. A lot of times pre-pandemic and hopefully post-pandemic, we speak at their events, and I have a network of about 75 subject matter experts around the world that when a project comes up, I call on them and we bring them in based on their specialty. About 3 years ago, I launched Small Business Edge. Oddly enough, it was a website that I've had since 2001, I think, or 2002. And it just kind of laid there. And now we're in the process of building out community for small business owners. So we're in the process of getting ready to launch the Small Business Edge marketplace, which will be a simple networking, simple transaction marketplace for business owners. And we'll have a lot of our experts come on and share their thoughts and content and suggestions with them.
Okay. So let's talk about small business owners and some of the issues they face and a little bit about how you help them. So what keeps small business owners up at night? What are the problems they face?
Wow. How long is this podcast?
You got 22 minutes.
All right. Well, in 22 minutes or less, there are a variety of things that keep business owners up at night. I applaud the business owners that know what keeps them up at night. It could be something as simple as not knowing the type of business owner you are. I ask my clients all the time, are you a small business owner, an entrepreneur, or are you something in between? And I call that a passionate business owner. Because not knowing the type of business owner you are, when you come to forks in the road, and a fork in the road could be opening a new location, hiring new employees, taking outside money for your business, buying a competitor, investing, buying equipment for your business. If you're a small business owner, you almost always say no to those because you like what you have. It's a lifestyle business. An entrepreneur will almost always say yes, depending on their financial situation. It's the passionate business owners that have no idea which way to go. And that's what keeps them up at night. Do I open a new location? Do I not? And then largely they make decisions not looking at the long-term ramifications of that. So that's one thing. I mean, if we had to say what keeps business owners up today, it's going to be things like labor, labor shortage, inflation, my variable costs. It's going to be supply chain. I listen to restaurants all the time talking about how hard it is to get, food products for their business. So a lot of the things that we read in the newspapers and hear on the radio and television or in podcasts are the things that are keeping business owners up right now.
Right. And I guess the old standby that everybody says kill small business owners is cash flow. So why is cash flow such a big issue?
Why? Because 97 out of 100 business owners are horrible at managing their finances. I mean, that's the people become business owners because either they lost their job, they were downsized, or they wanted to chase a dream. So whether they're an accidental entrepreneur or not, they're usually pretty good at one thing. I mean, they're really good at one thing, making a product, offering a service. They're probably pretty good at a couple other things, maybe marketing or sales. But what most of them struggle with is finances and understanding cash flow and understanding that you cannot let net 30 receivables become net 60 or net 90. And we saw that in the pandemic, right? When things got tough, customers slowed down the paying process. But you know who didn't slow down? The payables. So your rent, light, and heat were all due on the first of the month. And on the second of the month, you got a phone call saying, where's my money? And that's when people start to panic. And then you start paying that, but you don't look at the other things that you're going to need to pay. That's where you need to negotiate with your creditors and say, hey, I'm in a little bit of a bind. I need to get my money. And when I do, I'll pay you. So that's where they struggle. Or they make an investment in their business at the absolute wrong time. Buying something big for your business, April 2020 was probably not a smart idea. And so that's why most business owners struggle with cash flow.
Yeah. Is that something you help small business owners with at Small Business Edge?
Absolutely. We play a game called the what if game. And so what if a pandemic hits for 2 years and really shuts things down? That would be great. I'd be Nostradamus if I made that prediction. But largely, I say, what if these things happen? What will you do? So what if your largest customer goes out of business and takes 100,000 in receivables with them? Or what if a hurricane hits and you're a contractor and all your projects get put on hold, including the payments that they owe you? And it's a really scary idea, and it frightens a lot of people, and they hate to address those fears. And that, Gordon, is what keeps most business owners up at night, is the fear of the unknown. And so I said, no, let's walk through this exercise. What would you do? And they'd say, well, I probably would get a loan. I said, when the worst time to get a loan is? When you need it.
Yeah.
Set it up now while business is good and you've got positive cash flow and things look good and you survived the pandemic and the government's still handing out money in the forms of loans or even, grants, either federal or state. Now's the time to put those bunkers in place so that when something bad does happen, it won't kill your business. It may knock you down, but it's not going to kill you.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that we found at Thryv, our parent company, is that many small business owners they don't communicate as well as they should with their customers. It's a real issue where they think it's all about the actual product or service and not the customer experience that kind of goes around that. And as we were talking during the break before the show, our company makes a CRM product one of the things it does is helps communication between the small business owner and the customer. From the moment they get an appointment, notifying thank you for your appointment. We'll come out and see you on such a date and time, reminding them when they're going to show up so that they don't have no shows. And then when it comes to things like estimates, invoices, and ultimately payments, Do you find that small business owners, like, they need to do a better job of communicating? You think about how big companies communicate with you. As soon as you buy a book on Amazon or whatever you buy, ping, you get the little email or notifier, your package is on its way. And then where that package is till the minute it shows up at your door. Small businesses don't tend to do that.
No. And I mean, small businesses, the successful ones, I feel like certainly have the customer experience down, right? And that's why people buy from them. It's not based on price, because you're going to lose that race almost every time to the big box retailers and to Amazon. So the ones that have succeeded now either offer unique, original products and services, or they've really mastered the art of the customer experience. And that is what I tell my clients all day, is find the weakness in your competition. First of all, do you know your competition? Do you know who the top 5, top 10 competitors are? And then how do you compete against them? Because think of it as a football league. Some teams are great against the run. Some teams are great against the pass. Some teams are horrible at it, especially if you're my lovable New York Jets. But so you have to face your competitors differently. So if you're going to compete against Walmart, you're going to compete on customer service, customer experience, and the fact that you want to kind of gently remind these people that they're supporting small business when they buy from you. If you're competing against another small business owner, it might be on quality, it might be on the price, but you have to find out where your strength is versus your competitor's weakness, and really drive that home. So you need to have multiple plans of attack when it comes to running your business.
Right. So it sounds like you're getting into the area of sort of planning or strategic planning. I wanted to ask you that. Do you think strategic planning is something that small business owners should do, and why don't they do it more?
Again, so in my personal assessment over 30 years of working in the SMB marketplace, about 85% of most business owners are reactive. I'd say about 14.9% of them are proactive. And that 0.1% is what I call predictive. And that's just rarefied air. That if you're born with that gene, the predictive gene, where when you come to the forks in the road that we were talking about, you don't even slow down. You saw that fork, the next fork, and the fork after that. And God bless you, because I want to ride your coattails behind the highway every step of the way. But what I try and teach my clients is learn to become less reactive and more proactive. Here's a reactive business owner. You're in bed at 6:30 in the morning. You wake up, you open your eyes, and you grab your phone. And you look at it and you go, fire, 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 fire. And before your feet hit the floor, you're putting on your fireman's coat to put out the fires. But you never ask, what's the root cause of those fires? Is it a bad employee? Is it a bad customer? Is it a bad process that we have in our business? And the only way you get to get to that root cause of the fire is when you go to what I call the clouds of your business. We're all in the weeds. So we see 3 to 5 feet in front of us. And most business owners, all they're ever going to see is the same fire that keeps cropping up that you keep putting out. Going to the clouds of your business requires to look at your business from 20,000 feet. And you look down on it and you say, this is where we are right now. This is where we've been. This is where we're going to. Oh my God, there are the root causes of our fires. I need to get rid of that employee, because all of a sudden you start to see a pattern. Or I need to do a better job on my receivables, because right now I'm averaging net 65 days on my receivables. And here's a key point though to that. You cannot go to the clouds alone. You have to bring your advisors, and every business should have advisors. So it's your attorney, it's your accountant, or your bookkeeper. It could be key employees, or even some of your customers. And you whiteboard it. It's a whiteboard session. And you say, here's where we are, here's where we are. More importantly, here's where we want to go. Because what these people are going to be able to do is they're going to be able to look at your business from different angles. So they're going to help you round out a 360-degree view of your business. You get to see maybe 90 degrees of it, but you missed 270. Are you covered in insurance? Are you dealing with this employee finances? Why aren't you doing a better job with social media? All the things we talk about, that people are going to hopefully help you with when you do it. And when you're done in the clouds, you get back down and you execute. And that's how you go from being reactive to proactive.
At Small Business Edge, do you have a strategic planning framework that you use? Is there some kind of, process that's something you implement?
Yeah. So that expression, right? The cobbler's children who have no shoes.
I do.
People have been telling me to write this book for years. What I do is I've done numerous podcasts of my own and been guests on others where I talk about things like your GPS plan, why every business owner should have not a business plan. I call it a GPS plan, because if it's done correctly, it'll help you get to a destination that you've never been to before on time, and you don't run out of gas. So, but it's a work in progress.
Okay. Yeah, I like that GPS because, business plan, it sounds like often is something that, people write down and then they put it on the shelf and never look at it again. The idea of the GPS is it's always sort of self-correcting and moving you in the direction you want to go.
Right. And it does three things that if done correctly. It requires discipline as opposed to like just kind of, okay, I didn't do that today, but that's fine. So it requires discipline to do it. It requires commitment as opposed to faith. So discipline instead of motivation, commitment instead of faith, and then accountability, which is a huge word. If I'm a small business owner listening to your show today, I'm writing these three words down: discipline, commitment, accountability. Because without those three things, your percentage of success goes down measurably. Because who holds you accountable? Don't say myself, because that's garbage, right? Oh, no, I'm really good at it. Yeah. Well, when you lost that account or you started to go off course, did you self-correct immediately? Or do you have a pity party and continue to drive in the wrong direction? Because all of a sudden you're going to wind up in Kansas City, and I love Kansas City, but you were meant to go to Fort Lauderdale. And you're like, how the heck did I wind up here? More importantly, I don't even have the money to get to, I can't get to Fort Lauderdale. I can't even get back home. I'm stuck here with bills to pay, no revenue, and I'm just going to shut down my business.
Interesting stuff. Yeah, I think those three words could be used for almost anything you do, whether it's a marriage or a college or anything else, right? What was it?
Oh, absolutely.
Commitment.
Discipline. It's discipline, commitment, accountability.
Love it.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
And and having a GPS plan, because all of those things will keep you on track, even when life and business tries to knock you over. You're on the path to success. You've laid it out. The more detailed your GPS plan is, the better your chances are for success. So let's say, Gordon, you say, I want to hit $1 million this year. Okay. Well, how much did you do last year? I did 700,000. Okay. How much of your business will you lose in a given year? Let's say, okay, I'll lose $100,000. Okay. So now you're down to 600,000. How much will come from existing business? How much will come from new business? Is your business seasonal? Are there months where it's really slow? Then we start to map out the details. And then everything you do from today till the end of the year should get you closer to your goal. Now, here's the best part of a GPS plan. It makes it so easy to say no. So, Gordon, you're successful. I'm sure a lot of people come to you and say, hey, let's partner on this. Or how would you like to work with me on that? And the only currency that matters when you're using your GPS plan is time. And the person who's asking you that question, they're a time robber. So they're going to try and steal your most valuable commodity. And if you say yes to them because you think, oh, this will get me closer to my goal, then you need to say no to something that you've already said yes to. That needs to go on the back burner, because the one thing none of us can do in a given day is create more time. So unless you want to give up spending time with your family or going to the bathroom or sleeping, you're going to have to figure out how to manage your time effectively. That's probably the single biggest difference between successful business owners and people who fail, is managing your time.
Yeah, it's great point. I find that as a, working in the business that I'm in, just email, really. Email is potentially the biggest time waster, because so many people are pinging you with requests, and you really have to sift through those in some way where you're not spending a lot of time on things that are not going to benefit you, because you can just get lost responding to emails.
Yeah, well, I have 4 folders for my emails and for my text messages and my phone calls. And I stole this from somebody, and I'd love to give them credit. It's a book I probably read 20 years ago. So whoever it is, thank you very much. Urgent, important, everyday, non-essential, right? As you go through your email, just look at it real quick. Is this urgent? Then I need to take care of it today. Is it important? I probably need to take care of it this week. If it's everyday and non-essential, you put that into separate folders, right? So here's another little trick for your listeners, right? Break your day into 4 components. You have my time, prime time, downtime, my time. So if you work 9 to 5, that's prime time. But anything before 9 o'clock, if you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, you have 5 hours of my time. Meditation, working out, breakfast, read the paper, get ready for the day. When that clock hits 9 o'clock, it's showtime or prime time. Then at 5 o'clock, you turn off your work and then you wind down. And what I love to tell my clients is, use that last hour to deal with the everyday and the non-essential. So all the people who called you during your day, your siblings, a buddy to talk about football, somebody wanting to catch up. The only person that I'd say I won't, kick to the end of the day is my mother. Right? She calls, you take that phone call. But everybody else say, hey, can I call you back at 5 o'clock? And then you are in control of your time as opposed to somebody else, because that phone call is a half hour that takes away from your productivity. And you really need to be a student of this game in order to become proactive. But then that last hour of the day is when you clean up all the little messes, like the everyday, the non-essential, getting back to people, and then setting up tomorrow. Believe it or not, I have a notebook that my microphone is sitting on, and I write down everything that I need to do today that's urgent and important. And if I can get those things done, it's a successful day.
Great stuff. Your 4 folders, by the way, that's Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Essential, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
There you go.
That came out I think in the 90s. It's at least 25 years old. Still really, really resonates.
Relevant
great
today, because people they read, but they don't learn.
Yeah. The reason that thing sold. Yeah, that's sold, I think, 20, 30 million copies is a reason for that. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be back in just 30 seconds with more from Brian Moran.
Looking for that next spark of inspiration to take your business to the next level? Thryv, the leading software for small business, presents Connect 21. The year's leading small business conference for entrepreneurs like yourself will feature some of today's most successful business leaders, industry pioneers, and software experts. Hear from a lineup of inspirational speakers including Ramon Ray, founder of SmartHustle.com and author of 4 books, including Celebrity CEO, and Jonathan Morris, Texas-based entrepreneur and host of the newest show from Magnolia Network, Self-Employed. You'll have the opportunity to participate in educational breakout sessions with small business experts and leading executives from Merrill Lynch, AudioEye, and others. So grab a cup of coffee and join us for this virtual interactive event on November 10th and 11th. This is the small business conference you won't want to miss. Register now at www.thryv.com/connect. That's THRYV.com/connect. Come to connect, leave inspired.
We're back with Brian Moran of Small Business Edge, and wanted to just get back into a little bit about your own personal journey before you got to Small Business Edge. I understand before you started Small Business Edge, you were a writer, editor covering small business for decades, and I think you worked at places like the Wall Street Journal, Success Magazine, Entrepreneur Magazine. Tell us a little bit about those days. What drove you?
Well, actually, I went to journalism school, but when I found out how much writers made, I went over to the dark side and I worked on the business side of those magazines. And but when I had my own publishing company, I did an extensive amount of writing. Then I didn't have to have an editor say, no, salespeople and sales managers are never going to write for our magazine. So, but it was amazing to watch business owners talk about their dreams and their passions and going after it and dealing with some of the deepest, darkest valleys in order to get there. And failure in business. I remember reading Norm Brodsky's book, The Knack. And Norm is a great storyteller. And that's what I love too about business owners. They're great storytellers. But Norm talked about going bankrupt twice. Creating companies worth tens of or hundreds of millions of dollars, only to watch them, jump off a cliff. And he picked himself up, he dusted himself off, and he said, all right, it's time to get back in the game. And now, Norm has done incredibly well. And now he mentors young business owners, which is great to see. But that's really what drives me, is to find these people, men and women, old and young, who are successful, and find out how they became successful, what drives them, and what takeaways I can pull out and then share with my readers, my listeners, my viewers.
Yeah, right. What do you think are the best businesses to be getting into today in 2021? If I'm a, sort of budding entrepreneur, thinking about the future, where should I be focusing my efforts? Any recommendations?
Well, you're going to go to where you're comfortable. You're going to go to where I would strongly suggest that you follow your dream and your passion. Even if people say that's a dying market, don't do it. Because you know what? What's old becomes new again. Vinyl records, right? Vinyl records. My son is a collector, and they're making a comeback, and I see people with Walkmans now, and even cassette players. I think 8-track tapes will never come back, but that they were just way too hard to understand and hard to keep in storage. But I really think if you are a foodie and you want to get into creating food for people, right, and following your passion, maybe opening a restaurant might not be a great idea, but it could be a food truck. It could be, food on demand. You could make meals for people who are trying to lose weight. I mean, there are a lot of ways to skin the cat, but don't not go into the food business because people told you not to do it. Mm-hmm. Who are they? What are their credentials? Maybe they lost a restaurant business, so they tell everybody not to get into it. I'm sorry you didn't succeed, but I'm going to follow my dream and I'm going to be smarter about it. So that's what I would tell people, to follow your passion, but be open. I can't remember the quote, but it's basically follow your dream, but be open to the path where it takes you. Again, using the food business as an example. It may not be a restaurant, even though that's what you would love to do. Maybe the smart thing to do is food on demand for now, as you build up your name.
Yep. We touched on this issue of labor before, and I just wanted to make sure we kind of address it, because it is so topical. It seems every time you talk to a small business owner, they say, well, I'd love to help you out, but I don't have workers. I recently was where I am was trying to go out to eat, and literally we had to go to 3 restaurants before they could sit us down, not because there were too many people there, but there weren't enough workers. They literally had empty tables. They had customers who wanted to sit down and they couldn't staff the table. So they were like serving half the restaurant. We had to go to 3 places. So obviously there's something happening in the economy right now where folks are having trouble getting workers, not just restaurants, small business owners as well. What's your thought on that?
Well, you'd have to look at both sides of the coin, right? And say, from a worker standpoint, I've been underpaid for years, but I wasn't in a position to say anything about it because I lose my job and I'm underwater. But thanks to the government, I've been making more money not working than working, and so I think that they've been in that position long enough now where their behavior has changed to when it comes to work. And you hear things like the Great Resignation. Like, if you make me come back into the office, I'm just going to quit my job. And employees are feeling empowered. And I applaud them for that. But have a short, mid, and long-term plan in place as you start to think about, I quit. Because here's one thing that's coming. It's automation. Right? If you're an hourly worker, the question you have to ask yourself is, will I be automated out of a job? We're going into restaurants now and, doing the QR code on the table, and we get the menu and we, figure out what we want. And pretty soon it's going to be, where I don't need 40 people. I only need 15. I mean, Bezos mastered that, right? I mean, he buys Whole Foods. I want to say, I read somewhere, I think Whole Foods average employees was maybe 150 to 200. And he's talking about getting that down to under 20. And he's going to be able to do that with robots and automation. And so that's coming. I know the automation in certain sectors is coming. And for business owners that have survived up to now, they figured out how to get past the labor issue. A great example I heard from a gentleman up in Buffalo was, they share employees with other restaurants, so one restaurant says, I'll be closed on Monday, you be closed on Tuesday, and we'll share employees and we'll figure out the rest of the week, what we can do. Where there's a will, there's a way. So don't lower your goal because the landscape has changed. And that's really where a good board of advisors comes into play. What are you guys doing, with the labor shortage, and what can I be doing? If you don't ask for help, and help it's not a weakness. There's a great saying, vulnerability is the new invincibility. And so, say, hey, I've got this problem. Can you guys help me? And, or let's talk about the labor issue. And you're with a bunch of retailers and restaurant owners, and you'll come up with a solution.
Yeah. We were talking a little bit before about, a CRM system for small businesses. A big advantage of that is not just, this idea of, automating or making things more sort of mechanized. It's, you don't need as many people to do the work because, for example, something like sending reminders or notifications or emails or texts, a lot of that can be automated. And so you don't have to have a person there, sort of an assistant who's communicating. The software really does a lot of that work for you. And there's other examples throughout your business where, not that complicated. This is not, sending a man to the moon. It's just simple software that can get a lot of these tasks done.
Yeah. You know who's going to make a lot of money? You know what job is going to be really in demand? You had asked that earlier. People who can help you automate your business.
Mm-hmm.
Right now AI is focused a lot on the mundane tasks, right? So answering, popular questions on your website with a chat bot, or, something like that, to free up your people to really focus on customer experience.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the people who are in the AI business are just, thriving, no pun intended, but that they are the ones who are sought after. Help me automate my business and I'll pay you whatever you need, because I don't have the labor right now and I have the customers here. So these are obstacles that are in your way. If you're a business owner, you can't ignore them. Face your fear, whatever's standing in front of you. And you don't have to do it alone. You can have other people, because you know what? They're going to tell you that mountain is really a molehill. You could walk over that if you stop running away from it. So whatever is keeping you up at night right now, face it this week. And one of two things are going to happen. It's either going to kill you, and if it does, you don't have to worry about anything else because you're dead, or it's going to make you stronger. It's going to make your business stronger. It's going to, that's one less obstacle that you have to deal with, and it gets you closer to your goal. So face your fears today.
Well, on that note, we're gonna close this out. That's some great words of advice. I wanted to make sure that folks listening know how to get in touch with you, Brian, if they'd like to potentially hire you for coaching or advice or speaking. What's the best way to reach you?
So Brian, Brian, at smallbusinessedge.com is my email address. You can find me all over social media, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn is a good one. And just mention the show. I listen on Gordon Henry's show. It's great. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about some of the things you said. That'll move you to the top of the list.
All right. Sounds good. Well, I want to thank you for stopping by. Really, really good advice and wisdom built up, I guess, over 30 years of writing, and then finally getting into the coaching and leadership business.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I appreciate this. And hopefully your listeners got one or two takeaways from today.
All right. Well, thanks again. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and tell a friend or colleague to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. We'd really appreciate it. Until next time, make it a great week.